Welcome. Welcome to our boot camp today. My name is Dixie Lowe for those that do not know me, and I'm one of 3 loan officers on the Integrity Home Mortgage team here. And today's class is going to be about building trust with new leads, turning that first contact into lifelong clients. So today's all about building relationships, not just closing deals. All right. So let's talk about why trust matters. So, of course, buying and selling is a super emotional thing, and it comes with big financial stakes. Clients are looking for safety and certainty when they reach out to you. Trust reduces the hesitation that they may have and also helps shorten the decision making time. So, that is why trust is super important, and establishing that in different ways that we'll go through is very important as well. First impressions happen fast, and that is certainly true. I know that usually within about 2 minutes of conversation with folks, I've already started to develop an impression of what I think. So response time is very important. Your tone is super important, and your level of professionalism is also super important as well. Now, most leads in your business, and actually in our business too, may have talked to multiple people. So the person that makes them feel warm and makes them feel welcome and human and responsive is usually the person that wins their business. So let's talk about some good first impressions. So for me personally, someone who is on time, someone who is upbeat, who listens, and who answers questions informatively. So these are the type of first impressions that I'm always seeking. But let's also talk about some of the bad first impressions. And essentially, they're going to be the opposite side of that coin. Late, dull, lackluster, dead fish personality, and kind of short and brief and not warm. So those are bad first impressions. I know that we all are different individuals, so we all handle our business different ways, but we can all make sure that we're leaning into the good first impression by doing a couple of the things that we'll talk about here today. So this is a quote that I really love this quote, and I do think about it often throughout my day when I'm working with people, and I think it's a very relevant quote, so I wanted to include it in our slide. So they may forget what you've said, but they'll never forget how you made them feel. So this quote is a wonderful quote to have in your mind to live your daily life, but also practice through your business. Because if you make someone feel very special and heard and understood, that connection is going to be strong. You're making a big positive impact that could solidify a relationship. And it's also at the end of the day going to make you feel very good about how you do business. So, fun fact on this next slide here, speed to lead, very important. This is actually a picture of my husband driving me anywhere from point A to point B. And if you know how fast my husband likes to drive, you'll understand how accurate this picture truly is. I'm just kidding. So, the importance of speed to lead. So, this is something that our team practices, and definitely something that everybody should keep in mind. If you can, and I know it's not always possible, and we've touched on this in prior boot camps as well, but try to respond to leads that you receive within 5 minutes if possible. Now, is this realistic? No, it is definitely not always realistic, and that's okay. But there's other things that you can put in place that can help you here, and without going back into our previous conversation fully, I'll just mention a few. So setting up a voicemail that states, "Sorry, I missed your call, but your call is very important to me. I will return calls within 30 minutes or an hour of receiving your voicemail." Or if you see a call's coming through and you can customize a text message that's going out that can basically say, "Your call is important to me. I'll return your call in 30 minutes," or setting an expectation so they know that, "Hey, I see that you're coming to me and I appreciate that, and I'm going to give you a definitive reply time." That's very important. When you call, and if you get a voicemail, Also, send a text message. So let them know it's very important that you're trying to get them and get back in contact with them because it means a lot that they've reached out to you in the first place. The fact that you're working quickly to get back with them, it's really going to emphasize that you're reliable and you're willing to help, and that's what you're here for. So, our next slide is about authenticity. So, authenticity wins hearts in business. So, there are a lot of times when you're reaching out to people, or even when you're walking through your day to day life, you're going to encounter lots of individuals. And people can tell when you're fake. Okay. You're not fooling anyone. Even if you're fake being nice, people can tell when you're being fake. So you always want to try to be as authentic as you can. So a couple of things that can help you with that is to share something small about yourself. So tell a story. It can be a personal story, it can be an industry related story, anything that kind of helps you connect as an individual to them as an individual. It will definitely warm up the conversation and create a stronger connection. One thing that's not on this list here that I think is super important, and I just encountered this the other day myself when I was out shopping, body language. Now, I know when you're on the phone, body language is not necessarily something that comes in play, but if you're face to face with someone, be very aware of your stance and your face. Because sometimes even your concentration face, if you're listening to people, can come across kind of not as friendly. So try to remember to always have a smile or a neutral grin on your face and make sure that you stand in a way that doesn't look combative or not open. Okay. When you're on the phone, it is super important for you to smile too, because people can sense that in your tone. They know when you're smiling and when you're talking to them, and when you have your, hand on your forehead and really not interested. So make sure that you're smiling and that you're being warm. And the other thing, of course, make eye contact. So, of course, on the phone, you can't really do that, but in person or on Zooms, eye contact is super, super important. I personally would not trust someone with a huge investment like buying a home if they're not making genuine eye contact with me. Make sure that that eye contact is there and helps people feel connected. It helps people feel engaged. And it also helps people understand. And it's almost like there's more comprehension when there's great eye contact. And last but certainly not least is be yourself and show your personality. And I will say this, we all have people that we aspire to be like. So there's nothing wrong with taking some cues from the people that you aspire to be. That's super healthy. But be your own version of that person. So the one thing that we all have is that we're all created uniquely. So that's your superpower and that's your gift. So make sure that you come to your work day as your authentic self. That can really make the whole process so enjoyable for the people that you're reaching out to, your leads, and also for you. No one wants to come to work every day pretending like there's somebody else. Need to be your authentic self, and it's going to make your life much more enjoyable and their transaction much more enjoyable. The next slide is ask better questions. And I think Jonathan may have touched on this a little bit in our previous boot camp, but ask open-ended questions. This helps keep the conversation engaged and it helps you continue to listen to what their needs are. So maybe you can ask a question something like, what has you thinking about moving right now? What is important to you about the move? So things like, what is your motivation? What is the timeline for wanting to move? What experiences have you had in the past, both good and bad? So this question here, this last one, what experiences have you had, both good and bad, I feel is a very, very helpful question for you to know the answer to. Of course, you'll know if they've had good experiences and what made them happy, but you'll also know what bad experiences they had, and you'll know to steer clear of that. and actually go about things a little bit differently. So that's a very important question. We use this question a lot in our business too, not just when we're speaking with our clients, but when we're creating referral relationships. So if you talk to a realtor and you say, hey, what do you love about this lender? And what did you not love about this lender? It helps us understand what they're looking for so we make sure our relationship makes sense or we can adjust things accordingly. Very important that you also listen more than you talk. Now, trust me when I say I'm being very honest here. When I'm passionate about something, I will talk about it, And I'm sure that a lot of people that are on this call, just like myself, we love what we do, and that's why we do it, right? We get very excited and very passionate, but it's important to remember the 70-30 rule. Okay, so make sure that you're listening and talking less so that you can have a really strong idea of what these folks are hoping to accomplish. And that way you can work on creating a plan for them that's going to make sense and create that level of trust that they're looking for. Also, while you're listening, make sure to repeat some of the key points that they're mentioning to you. When you repeat things back, it builds trust. They know you're listening to them and not zoning out and thinking about what you're going to be making for dinner. Okay? So repeat things back. So a really good example of that would be something like, hey, it sounds like the timing of your move is very important to you. Or it sounds like living in the Cave Spring area is real important to you because you have a graduate that's looking to graduate next year. So things like that are really going to create deep connections and help solidify that relationship. So I feel like this is a recurring theme that's in a lot of our boot camps too. Make sure that your mindset is on educating, not selling people. Make sure that you explain the processes and you set expectations and you share your wealth of knowledge in a way that they can understand it. So let's back up a little bit and with the set expectations. I think that this is huge. The expectation setting is huge. There's parts of your business, I know there's parts of our business that can be very stressful. But if you set a realistic expectation for people coming out of the gate, they have time to mentally prepare and wrap their head around it. They have time to physically prepare. In our world, that might look like documentation. If you're self-employed or if you're applying for a cool grant that we have, a lot of times those programs, they come with some additional documentation. But is it worth it? Heck yeah, all day long it's worth it. If you're a self-employed individual, we have to get a bunch of your tax returns and a lot of the schedules and such as well. But it's part of how you're employed and it's how you get the loan and it's a requirement. If you set those expectations up front, it's going to be much more enjoyable through the process and people aren't going to feel blindsided or overwhelmed. A lot of times realtors and lenders can sort of work together on this piece, I think, sometimes. Um, as a realtor who's been in the business, you probably already know that we're going to ask for a bunch of documents of self-employed individuals. And while you're having the sit-down conversation with them, when you're, maybe advising them to connect with a local lender, you can say, they're going to ask you for a lot of documentation, but it's required. Please just comply and send them what they need. And then when we speak with them, we'll say, hey, thank you for applying with us. This is going to be the document request that we're going to have for you. We're here to help you along the way. So those expectations and setting those is super crucial. So consistency equals creditability. So trust is built in small amounts. If you say that you're going to send somebody something, then you send it. If you say that you're going to call somebody at 2 o'clock, you call somebody at 2 o'clock. The level of importance in that is monumental. And it's a small act, but it makes a big impact in creating trust. Make sure you always follow through and you stay organized and be the reliable person for them. Again, it's a huge, huge deal for them to move and to buy a large home or a small home. It's a huge financial decision. you need to make sure that you cover all those bases thoroughly, and it will certainly build trust in those small steps. So I assume everybody here, and I know a lot of names, I'm seeing a lot of folks, um, have reviews and testimonials and even business stories that they have that you can actually use your social proof to help solidify and build trust with your new leads that come in. So that's something that you can certainly resort to help you have some information to share stories and create a bond with your new leads. Something like, I recently helped a client in a similar situation, and I'm happy to help guide you through this. This will build credibility without making you sound salesy. No, no one wants to be pitched, guys. This is not Shark Tank. Everybody wants to feel like it's a genuine connection. So make sure you always keep that in the back of your mind. The purpose of this next slide, a little bit for my own selfish reasons, because I'm ready for this weather to shift. So I put a beautiful warm weather scene here, but I'm hoping that you all can enjoy the picture as well. But really great information on this slide too. So make sure that you set clear next steps. So always have a plan. Schedule a follow-up. This is huge, and we've had a couple of boot camp classes on the importance of follow-up as well. And if you ever need any tips on this or how to organize that, please always feel free to reach out to our team. I think we've got it down to a really great science. These things all will help reduce uncertainty. So I don't want anyone here to ever end a conversation by saying, "Hey, I'll follow up with you sometime." No, definitely never do that. Say, "Hey, let's connect tomorrow at 3 o'clock. Does that work well for you?" So something like that, it just creates comfort and security. You're pulling them through a big process, and so are we as lenders. So we want to make sure that they know that we're committed and that we have a time in mind and we have a schedule and a follow-up plan in place. That's super beneficial for creating trust. A common question that we get, just so you all know, as a lender, is going to be, "Hey, I'm buying and selling a house at the same time. I'm so confused on how this will all work out together, and I'm a little stressed out by it." And understandably so. And of course, we get that question quite frequently, and we'll reach out back and mention, "Hey, this is something that happens all the time. We help people buy and sell at the same time always, and here are the logistics of what that looks like." And usually, once we have the conversation and go through the details, it's much less daunting of a situation than it was prior to having the phone call in the first place. So, all right. Well, we're down to our last slide here. So I want to, in conclusion, say it's all about the relationships and not the transactions. So always keep that, of course, top of mind. Trust leads to referrals and repeat business and long-term success in your business. So when we're interacting with folks on a daily basis, if we're coming with our authentic selves, being prepared, staying organized, making sure our body language and our overall attitude is all heading in the right direction, it's going to help you build trust and create long-term relationships. And that's all I have for you all today. If you have any questions whatsoever, please feel free to ask. And I want to thank everybody for their time and hope everyone has a wonderful, very positive rest of your week.